Hello. So a while back, I read the Snowflake method, and I also decided that I wanted to try doing a book with the Snowflake method. And I happened to have gotten an idea for a vampire novel. So I actually made 2 episodes doing the Snowflake method kind of live with all of you here on this channel. However, with the vampire novel, I couldn't even get to like the second step with doing the paragraph because I just didn't really know enough about what I wanted to do with this story. So I'm kind of going to do a redo, but this one isn't going to be for the vampire novel. This is going to be for a set of 3 contemporary romance novels that I'm going to be writing simultaneously because all of the characters are interacting and they all have romances that are brewing at the same time. They all have the same exact inciting incident, chapter one, and of course respond to it very, very differently depending on who they are. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I do want to go over and kind of like teach you about the Snowflake method as I go, and then also show you what my answers were to the different steps, and then doing some of the steps with you as well. So for the Snowflake method, you actually, if you want to try this, the first thing that you should do is look up Snowflake Pro and download it. It's free. He made it free. He would like for you to have bought the ebook at least, which is like $5, but you can download it for free. The Snowflake Method program. It's perfect because it lays out exactly what you need for each part. It also has a part that you can click on it and he will actually speak to you kind of the instructions. So for instance, if you click play lecture.
Now, with step 2 of the Snowflake method, what we're going to do is take what we did in step 1.
See, so he will actually tell you. Plus, there's the part that says view helpful notes on there, which will link you to the website articles where he like puts it in text form. And then there's also a thing called view lecture notes, which sometimes also goes to the, there's like 2 different parts of the website, basically. So one of them is like a help page and one of them is a lecture notes. So the help page might further expand on some of the things. So basically, the Snowflake Pro is free and it goes with the Snowflake method. The Snowflake method is basically this method where you start by defining the genre and your target audience of the story that you want to tell. Then you move into telling one sentence. And then the second step is to do a 1 paragraph summary, which is 5 sentences that basically detail like what are the decisions that your character is having to make at the end of each act, and then of course what's your beginning and what's your ending for your book. This isn't something that you're necessarily going to show people, so you do want to be spoilery, but the first 2 parts, the sentence and the 1 paragraph summary, are going to be very vague, which is also very natural if you haven't actually started working on the book yet, because you might not even know the character names, so that's fine. Then the third part is going to be character definitions. That's where you're going to give each of your characters a name, an ambition, a story goal, conflict, epiphany, sentence summary, paragraph summary. And you can do it with as many characters as you want. And on the actual thing, you can add characters and you can also delete characters. And then you have, apparently there's a drag and drop feature as well, where you can select any character and then drag them up or down to change the order, which could be cool if you want to have your main characters on the top and then your sub characters down below. When we get into going into the specifics of my own story and how I'm going to be plotting 3 romance novels all at once, you'll kind of see that I do some things slightly differently than what you would do if you were doing it with one book, but not really. And I'll explain that soon. But first, I'm just kind of giving you the screenshot of the Snowflake method to see if you even want to attempt to try to do this. So the next part, after you get the basics for your characters, is to do a 1-page synopsis. That is where you're going to expand each sentence of your 5-sentence paragraph into a 5-sentence paragraph for each of those sentences. So basically, you're just turning it into a page. Then you go back to the characters, and this is where you're going to kind of expand, because once you know exactly what needs to happen in your book, that's also going to inform what's going to be happening with your characters and going to teach you a lot of that. Um, so that's going to be the list of characters. And it says the character synopsis in a few paragraphs that summarize the story of the character selected. Enter a few paragraphs up to a page on each character. So basically, you're just going to write a page on each character instead of just like the minor details. And if you read the book, it's going to talk about like defining what their values are. And honestly, that's something that you're going to be filling in while you write the book. So, for instance, when I had my character, I did write the first chapter already. I've actually wrote the first 2 chapters. That's all I've done, but that's all I really needed to do to get informed. And I completely pantsed it, which was amazing because then I was forced to learn things about my character um, in a natural progression of how it was going. So values will present themselves, such as the fact that my character values life and would never want someone to be put into harm's way. And they are the type of person who will risk their own safety in order to help someone else. So in chapter 1, she jumps into a tidal wave, even though her mother died in a tidal wave. So yeah, I have an interest. I like my characters. But anyway, so you'll start to learn kind of their values throughout this, and you can't assume that anything is obvious and the same for everyone. So for instance, if you say, okay, one of my character's values is that she wants to fall in love, the assumption can't be, oh, he's going to be tall, dark, and handsome, because not everyone wants a tall, dark, and handsome guy. So then if your character only wants a tall, dark, and handsome guy, then that needs to be laid out in the person's values. Because then if they're presented with like a bald, chubby, short dude, they're not going to be interested in him. But that's not going to be evident to your reader that that's an automatic no-go if you haven't defined that the value is that they want tall, dark, and handsome. But that's one of the reasons why I do think that you should definitely read the book as well. But I'm still going to do this here. And then, of course, you have the lecture notes if you download the free program. So then you go into your long synopsis. So the short synopsis contained a 1-page summary of your story. And then for the long synopsis, it's going to be a set of several pages that expands on the story synopsis. Expand each paragraph in the short story synopsis into about a page, filling in the details. So you're pretty much just making it bigger. And then you're going to go back to your characters. So kind of how he does this is you're continually floating between your, like, I guess what I would call your plot, a lot of the external things that are happening, and then you're going to your characters, because the plot is going to force them to make decisions and might slightly change like who they are, or just inform you of who they are. So then you need to kind of keep track of that. And this is also going to require some legwork, because as you're doing this and as you're expanding, you might have to go back to previous steps and tweak them to fit the character that you're learning about. Because when you first get an idea, you probably don't know everything about your character. However, when you go through this process, you learn more. So some of the earlier stuff you may contradict. So yeah, so then you do your character chart. So for the character chart, you are going to let me pull up the one on here so I can just see it on the program. That might be easier, won't it? So for the character chart, you're going to put in a lot more characteristics than what we've already done. So you're going to have like their date of birth, their age, their height, their weight, their ethnic heritage, color of hair, color of eyes, physical descriptions, style of dress, sense of humor, personality type, religion, political party, hobbies, favorite music, favorite books, favorite movies, favorite colors, contents of purse or wallet, description of home, educational background, work experience, family, best friend, male friend, female friends, enemies, best childhood memory, worst childhood memory. It just goes on and on and on. But of course, you don't have to do all of those things. Basically, you just want enough information to where you feel like you have enough to write about your character. You want them to be well-rounded and full. If you are doing a series, knowing something like the birthday is going to be important, because if your series covers an entire year, then somewhere during that time frame that character is going to have a birthday, and you might want to show that, especially if your book takes course over the amount of several years, so that the reader will know how old the character is, without feeling like you've made some kind of mistake because you didn't tell them that they had a birthday. So now they just think that you've changed ages on them. So yeah, that's kind of what you do there. And then the next thing that you do is you actually do a scene list. So the scene list, you're going to be looking at your really big synopsis, which is several pages long. And you're going to be kind of like, you could take colored highlighters or colored pencils, whatever you want to do, or just number the sentences, and be like, okay, well, I know that this needs to happen based off of this summary. So it can be a specific scene that you have in your head. Now, one thing that he does is he doesn't really break it down into chapters. So you could have 3 or 4 scenes in one chapter. That doesn't really matter. What's more important is figuring out what are the scenes. So if you think of a movie, how many times does the location change within the movie? So I like to think of them as like the cuts. That's how I think of scenes. So for instance, a chapter might be like a day of that character's life in the movie, but a scene might be like, okay, for this scene, they're in their bedroom and they're getting ready and they get an email and they check it. All right, so that could be scene 1. They're in their bedroom. So I think of it as location. And then the second part could be you seeing them responding to that text. So maybe they're getting in their car and they're going to their friend's house. And then when they get to their friend's house, that's another scene. So now they're going to have a conversation with their friend about what was in the text. I'm just like giving you lame examples, but hopefully that kind of works. That way you kind of know what I'm talking about when I'm saying the scenes. Um, and then apparently there's some really cool things that you can do within the program as well. And like I haven't ever used the program fully. This is my first time, so I don't even know this stuff. So within this section, you can click the add button to add a new scene just below the currently selected scene in the list. You can delete a scene, um, or you can actually click on several of the scenes and delete them all at once. You can combine by clicking the button to combine the current selected group of scenes into a single scene. The summary of a new combined scene will include the summaries of all the scenes that you are combining. So basically, you can group your scenes into chapters. Once you know that you have them organized in the order that you want. You can renumber chapters, apparently. You can clear out stuff, and there's drag and drop features and just a whole bunch of stuff on there. So with your scene list, you can create one of the things that he recommends is to create an Excel sheet for the scene list. But in the program, I believe it already has the layout. It does. So for the scene list, you can have like the number that the scene is within the book, the POV, which is like, okay, what character is going to be focusing on this? Even if you're writing something that's in first person, it could still be you're kind of like looking at something through a certain person's lens, even if you're telling it in first person. Think of like Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is not the main character, even though everyone thinks he is. Um, or I guess he is the main character, like the story's about him, but he's not the one that's like showing it to everyone. It's Watson. Um, so you just whatever you need to do for the POV, the point of view. And if you're writing in multiple POVs or you're going like back and forth, then you can kind of put that on there as well. As of now, my plan is to just write these in the female's point of views. But you'll definitely see what's going on with the males as well. Through their interactions and conversations, you'll figure out those things. Then, of course, you have like what chapter number is it? The sentence summary. So, like one sentence on what's going to happen. Basically, just enough to know what you need to know in order to write the scene. Then you have the expected number of pages. So that could be however you want to define that. So if you're writing in a notebook and you know, hey, I want a chapter to be about 1,500 words. Then you could be like, okay, I know handwritten, that's about 9 pages in my notebook. So you can kind of figure that out. Or if you want to think of it in terms of book pages, then you can set your document that you're using to write on to 5 by 8, which is a good size for paperback. Most of us are indie authors, so you're probably not going to have a hardback. That would be like a 6 by 9. So a 5 by 8 is really nice looking. And I will actually show you differences because, of course, I have a lot of books. Let me see here. And I have a 5 by 9 paperback. I mean 5 by 8 and a 6 by 9. So this is one of mine that is a 5 by 8. This story was, I believe, 55,000 words, which might sound a little short because with traditional publishing for young adult fiction, the general basis is they want you to be sending them a book that's between 70 and 80,000 words, especially if it's contemporary. Romance does tend to have a bit of leeway. There are a lot of traditionally published books, especially when it comes to adult romance or like inspirational, that are closer to like 40,000 words. So there's a good range. But as you can see, it's definitely a full book. Like if I paid, $10, $15 for this, I wouldn't feel like I didn't get my money's worth by seeing the size. It's like 280 print pages. This right here is my friend's book, and it is a 6 by 9. Now, if your book is going to be long, so think epic fantasy, it's going to be 500 pages or more. Like it's going to be over 100,000 words. Let's just put it that way. If you know that your book is going to be over 100,000 words, then I suggest not doing a 5 by 8 and going for a 6 by 9 because you want it to be cheaper on the printing cost. So you don't want there to be as many pages. Whereas with a book that is shorter, you wouldn't want to make it a larger book because then it's going to be thinner and people are going to feel like they didn't get their money's worth, even though it's just the difference of inches. So as you can see, the 5 by 8 versus the 6 by 9. So there's the height difference, and then there's also the width. And then as far as the thickness, though, you can see that this one is a little bit bigger, but not like ridiculously. It's not twice the thickness of my book, even though this one is like 2 or 3 times the word count. But all the interior on the inside is the same because I formatted this book. Yeah, I formatted it. Anyway, where was I at? Yeah, so your expected pages, you could also go with expected words. So if you know yourself, you know how you write. Maybe your scene is just kind of like, maybe you're just setting the scene for your scene. Like a view of the house or something. Maybe you're a literary writer. I don't know. And you know that it's going to take you 300 words to describe the history of this home and exactly what it looks like. Then you can slap in there 300 words. And then there is a column for your actual word count. Now, why this matters is because at the top, you can put in some details on here. It says you can put your estimated words per page if you wanted to do that, your typical pages per scene, and your ideal pages per chapter. But really what this sheet does is you can export it, and I guess you can export it into an actual Excel sheet, and you can do formulas. So like if you knew that you needed to stay within a certain word count, then by having your estimation, you can kind of see where you're at. Or if it's just, if you're self-publishing and you don't really have to conform to anyone else's standards, you don't have to conform to traditionally published standards. If you have a full story's worth of stuff that's only 25,000 words, you can publish it. But when it comes to figuring out when you're going to be able to release the book, especially if you're planning like a year ahead and you want to know exactly when each book is coming out so that you can have a publishing strategy, then it would be good to have an expected word count because you know what you're capable of writing within a day. So for me, I'm like, okay, I know that I can comfortably write like 3,000 words a day if I wanted to. Now, I have a really hard time getting my butt in the seat. So that rarely happens where I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try to do that every day. But for instance, if you just take like a month and just try your hardest to just get some writing done, don't worry about your word counts or how long you're spending on it. And then at the end of the month, just look at your data and see how much you were able to accomplish and then divide it by the amount of days you spent actually working on it. Then that's going to give you a good idea of how long it's going to take you to finish your book if you know what the expected word count is. One of my issues that I've learned recently is that I am an underwriter, but I'm also an overwriter. So I know that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to explain. I'm very concise in my writing style. I assume that the reader will be able to pick up on clues. So if I put in one sentence, I expect the reader to know, okay, this person doesn't like this person because of this one sentence or this one word that they used to describe them. Whereas my editor and my co-author did not know how to explain to me what the issue was with my writing, because they really enjoy my stories. They enjoy my writing. They know that it's technically well structured and everything like that. But it's just like there was something missing from getting me to go from like really good to fantastic. And that was that I was just expecting the reader to know everything, because I've been taught show don't tell, and I've been taught write concisely so your readers don't get bored. And I've taken it a little too much to heart. So now I'm having to backtrack and I'm having to be like, okay, I can take a paragraph to describe a house if I want to. It doesn't have to be one sentence. So yeah, I've been an underwriter, and because of that, I have created all of these extra scenes so that I could deliver the information that I wanted to deliver, which I easily could have put into one chapter if I just allowed myself to put that information in there. Um, I don't have to show everything. Sometimes I can just tell something if I want to. So because I know that my chapters are going to be really short and quick, I wind up plotting out a lot of chapters, and it takes the same amount of mental energy as if I had put the relevant information into fewer chapters. So I'm trying to start to learn how to do that. And I think that that will help me have a better estimate of word counts. Sometimes I feel like I have to stretch to a certain word count to make a chapter, which was difficult when I was writing concisely. But now that I've tried to just pretend like the reader knows nothing and just show them everything, it has made a huge change. I wrote a chapter that was concise, to the point, had everything I needed in there. It was like 750 words. I went through, I banded all of that thinking, and I thought, okay, assume the reader knows nothing and really show them this world, show them the characters, show them the internal processes. That 700-word chapter then became like 2,400 words, and I even had to split it. So now there's a second chapter that was part of the first chapter. So it's changed everything, and I've learned the characters through writing one chapter. I know the main character really well, and then I know some small details about the surrounding characters. So that was an amazing experiment. But anyway, I'm getting off track. So the next thing that you want to do after you have like your word count, your summary, all of that, then the next step is going to be, I'm scrolling down, is going to be your scene details. So basically you gave the very minor stuff for your scene. So now your scene details. This is where you can put in more things, like scene notes. If you have pieces of dialogue or something like that that you know that you want to have included, then you can put those in there. And you can expand on your sentence summary. You can make it a paragraph telling you what needs to happen. Basically, just whatever you need to do, you can do it there. And then guess what? That is the Snowflake method. If you are planning on submitting to a traditional publisher, then there are some really cool tabs on here that will actually kind of make your proposal letter for you. So whenever you open up the program, the first thing that it's going to have you do is put in the title of your book. So you're going to need to have a title, even if it's just like TBD, to be determined. Stick that in there and save it. It doesn't matter. Or some of the authors on YouTube have like Project Purple or Project Railroad, like whatever you want to call it is fine. Project 1, Project 2, whatever. So you do that, it's going to save it for you. Then you can put in your subtitle, the category of your book, the word count, your target reader, and then it's got a section for the author. So you put in your name, your address, your phone number, your email, and your bio. And then, so the very last tab on here is proposal. And you get to choose the type of proposal. So you can have one with a short synopsis, which was that 1-page synopsis of what happens in your book, a long synopsis, or if you don't include a synopsis, you can also select that. And it's going to have it all laid out for you. And it's honestly really neat. And yeah, so I think it's pretty cool. And it's even got a part on here for like promotion. So like if someone famous has read your book and they love it, you could put that on there. I think some of this will be more useful for people who are already published and want to pitch a second book idea to the publisher, because this isn't a query letter. A query letter is like 1 page long. This one is a bit longer than that. But they might ask you for a proposal instead of your manuscript. So that's kind of what this is. So yeah, there's your breakdown of what the Snowflake method is. Now we're going to start with the actual steps of the Snowflake method. So today I sat down and I decided, okay, I want to start and I want to try. I'm just going to attempt to do this. One of my friends on YouTube, she had saw me do where I was trying to do this with that vampire story, but then I kind of got stuck on it and I couldn't do anymore. And so she had commented on my video and she was like, hey, I use the Snowflake method to do a cozy mystery. And so now she actually started a series called How I Outlined My Cozy Mystery Using the Snowflake Method. And she is putting out one video every day. So today, the second one came out. So I'm really excited about that. She releases hers in the mornings at like 5 a.m. my time, which is really early. I don't want to get up that early. I get up at like 8, 9, sometimes 10. But anyway, I've really enjoyed her series. So I was watching that and I finished the first 2 videos. And then I was like, okay, I need to get back into this. And I'm just going to kind of do it like she does, trying to get it all done in 10 days. Except for I'm going to do as many steps as I can within the day where I feel comfortable with it. And some steps might take multiple days. I don't know. And I'm doing all 3 books simultaneously. So yeah, if you want to check her out, her channel is Tish Bouvier. I think you'll really enjoy it. And she's got a playlist for it. So you can even set reminders. If you are going to be up at 5 a.m., you can watch it live and get a little reminder to let you know that she's on. But I highly recommend that in all of her videos. And she's just amazing. She does like writing sprints and stuff in the morning sometimes. So anyway, if I ever do have to wake up at 5 a.m., she's the channel I want to go to because I'm like, someone else is awake in the world this early. But anyway, okay, so go ahead. Hopefully by now, after all this rambling, maybe you have downloaded Snowflake Pro. So we're going to go over kind of what I put in for these. So my first title for the first book in the series, which of course I pulled up the wrong one. So let's try this again. So for the project details, you put in the title of your novel, and mine is Falling for the Surfer. Then you can put in a subtitle. I don't have one right now. I may or may not have one. And then your category of the book. So this can be your the age group. So for instance, if it's like adult, new adult, young adult, middle grades, children's, whatever it is, put that in there. And then what is your like genre that you're going for? So mine is romance, and then specifically it's Christian romance, or sweet romance. And it's also a beach romance because it's set in this beach town. So I just put YA Christian romance for now. This is going under one of my, well, I only have one right now, but I have a pen name, which I haven't announced yet, and I haven't decided if I'm going to make it public, but we'll see. And then you put in your expected word count. I like shorter novels, and I also don't want to put the word count really high and feel like I haven't got anywhere close to my goal. And then I finish it like way early. So I just put in 50,000 words. I feel like that's the NaNoWriMo standard for a novel. I like that. And generally when I do my like hardcore revisions and stuff, I add a bunch of words. So 50,000 I think is really good. If you can even get to like 30, 35,000 words for your draft, if you're an underwriter, you'll easily be able to expand that to 50,000 words without adding a bunch of fluff. But now my new goal, because I want to be publishing frequently and I want to be writing a lot, is to get it right in the first draft. Now, that doesn't mean every sentence is going to come down perfect the first time. But what it does mean is I'll write my scene. I'll immediately revise it. I'll immediately like kind of self-edit it a little bit as much as I can. And then when I think it's great and like I could send it to an editor, I'll send it to my friends and then they'll give me feedback. And they're authors, so they give good feedback. Um, and then I make their changes, and then it's ready for the editor if they want to do it. And I don't need to revisit that chapter again until I'm done with the whole book. And then I can read it all as a whole and see if I need to change any details. But by doing the Snowflake method, I shouldn't have to do that because I'm going to figure out all the kinks through this process so that there's not going to be any plot holes or contradicting material. So then you put in your target reader, which is not yourself. This is the person that you feel like would most enjoy the book. So I would start by thinking of the psychographics, which is like the type of book that this person would like, which is going to be the type of book that you're writing. So what kind of book are you writing? Because that's what you want your target reader to enjoy. Now you think of the demographics. Okay, what demographic enjoys this most? So you can actually go off of the similar demographics of the character, the main character that you have. Younger people tend to like to read slightly older. So for instance, if you have a book about a 15-year-old character, your target might be a 12 or 13-year-old person because they like to read up a little bit. So my books, a lot of the times my teen books are actually with characters who are like 17 or 18. So I am actually targeting 16-year-old girls because they're romance. I would love for guys to read my books. A lot of them have dual POV, so it does definitely have male-driven, conflicts and stuff that are happening. But you want to narrow it down as far down as possible. So it's kind of difficult to try to target girls and boys because when you're targeting, you have to think of like stereotypical things. So all your demographics kind of create smaller niches. So you just define this person as much as you can. So for me, I put teen girls, 16 or older, who love beach town sweets and Christian romances with lots of drama. People that like the cookie cutter Christian romances where the characters never sin, never do anything wrong, and like God solves everything with one little prayer. Those aren't my readers. I want the ones who like the drama, who like the struggle, who question their faith and stuff like that. That's the reader that I'm going toward. So I used pretty much the same thing for all three of my novels. The only thing that changed was the title of the book. So the second book is called Falling for the Striker. So we have Falling for the Surfer, Falling for the Striker, and then the third book is Falling for the Swimmer. So when you're thinking of your marketing, you want your titles to look like they belong together. They can have a repeating word, a repeating phrase, a repeating number of words. It can be a a place or something. Maybe they all have song titles. Pretty much anything where the reader can look at it without you telling them and be like, oh, just by the titles, I can tell that this is a series. So for one of my series, That's a romance. It started off with like a Christmas novel, so we went with Unwrap. So then you were like, okay, this is gonna be like a holiday Christmas thing. Unwrap My Heart. So every book starts with a word that has un at the beginning, and then the middle word is my, and then the third word is going to be like, something else. So all of them have three words. So we have Unwrap My Heart, Unleash My Love, and Unchain My Mind. And then we even have little novellas that are going to go with it. So I have like Unwrap My Regret. So I use the same word, the same middle word, and then I just change the last word so that they know that that novella that's like a prequel novella goes with the specific book. So then they can kind of figure out the reading order. So yeah, that's just a really cool way to do your titles. And then for this one, my strategy is falling for the, and then the last word, I pick some kind of sport or something that the guy is in. And to be even more specific, I do the position. So then people that like sports romances would be like, oh, okay, falling for the striker. A striker is a position in soccer. A swimmer is someone on the swim team. A surfer is someone who surfs. Um, and the other part of this, I made it even more stringent, is not only did I do a position of that, but also all of the positions end with an ER. I plan on this book series going on, but I have like 3 book arcs. So basically, I want this to be an anchor series. An anchor series is one that's going to kind of like get your career on track, meaning that there's a series, like a staple series, that the readers can follow for a long time. So even if you're publishing other things in between, they know that they can rely on this series having a new book every so many months, whatever you decide. Um, and after the first like 3, you can spread out those releases and people will be willing to wait for them. And so yeah, the first one, I have these 3 stories. They're all taking place at the same high school. They're all the characters are connected. All their romances are happening at the same time with the same inciting incident. And so that's going to be like the first trilogy. And that trilogy will be wrapped up, but then I'm going to continue with other groups of people. So like 3 romances for each like group. So you could start in on this anchor series at book 1, book 4, book 7, book 10. See what I'm saying? So like every 3 books would be where you could pop into your series, which is good for marketing. So I already know what the next 3 books are going to be. So the next 3-book arc, I already know what they are. I've already drafted one of them. So eventually that one was going to be like a dating series. So I had like T's wedding date, Sissy's prom date, Anita's blind date. So it had like the date thing and then it had the names for the beginning. But because I want to do well and I want to have an anchor series, I can't just think in terms of trilogies, because being able to market those is getting harder now because a lot of indies have like 12 books in one series, which gives opportunities for like box sets and just different promotions and sales and all that kind of stuff. And it just keeps your reader with you a lot longer, the longer your series goes, especially if all of the books are still written as standalone, which is how I'm doing these. So you could read the 3rd book first if you want to. And then you can go back and read the 1st book. It's going to spoil some things. But it's still a standalone. If you only read that book, you would be satisfied with just that one story. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. So for the next ones, I'm already thinking ahead of what I want to title those books. So I'm like, okay, so for T's wedding date, they're both in the debate club. So it's not a sport, but it is a club. So that kind of goes with this. And I can think of it as like artsy stuff. They're also musicians. So I could think of another word for a musician that ends with an ER, which is probably what I'm going to try to figure out. I don't know of one yet. But I can also do kind of the personality type. So I could do falling for the Joker because he's the class clown. Or I could do falling for the debater because he's on debate team, or speech team, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, and then for the second one with Sissy, they're both dancers, so I put falling for the dancer. And then with Anita, I can come up with something for her guy. So I can kind of go with that, and I can always also change up how the last word is for each three books so that you know that it's a different starting point, but still keep the falling for the. I think I might do that. Falling for thee, and then I could be like musician, dancer, and then whatever the third one will be. So something arts, like maybe artist, musician, dancer, artist. I like that. I think we're going to go with that. So I have the first three are sports romances. Then I have like um arts, like the arts entertainment type thing. Yeah, and then I can even be like I can go even further. I can be like photographer, filmographer. Like, it can go on. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna try to put all of my contemporary Christian romances in this one city, and it can go on for years and years and years, and it can cover, the seniors, the juniors, the sophomores, the freshmen, and however I want to do it. So, all right. So now that you know kind of how that works, um, after you know what your project details are, then you go and you can fill in your author information if you want to. You don't have to. And then you do your one sentence summary. So for your one sentence summary, there is a little bit of a formula. So I'm going to give it to you. So your formula is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to state your genre. So say, for instance, for mine, a teen beach romance or a teen Christian romance or a teen sweet romance, because it's all of those. So just pick one, whatever your genre is. If you got a subgenre, you can slap it in there. I could easily say for this one, I could be like a teen uh enemies to lovers romance or friends to lovers romance. However you want to do it, doesn't matter. Put your genre there. Then you're going to talk about who your characters are. So you're going to say about A. Describe your character. Don't give their name, but describe like who they are. So if you're writing an adult romance, it could be like a chef, or it could be a lawyer or whatever you wanted to do, a blank. And then if it's a romance, you might want to describe who the love interest is. So you could be like a soccer player, a bull rider, a farmer, whatever you want. And then the last part is going to be where you kind of want to give a clue of what the conflict is going to be and what the story is about. So with romance, what's going to get in the way of the romance? Try to show me that within the last bit of the sentence. If it's a contemporary literary novel, what do they want? If it's a fantasy novel, like what's going on? Is there going to be a war? Is it a royalty thing? Like what's happening? Let me know. So for instance, I'm going to give you my 3 sample sentences. So for the first one, which is the falling for the surfer, I put a teen beach romance about a popular lifeguard, her bully boyfriend, and the loser surfer who might be a better match. So from that, you get one set on a beach. So you've got setting. You know the genre because I told you it's a romance, and you know who it's for. It's for teens. You also know it's a sports romance because I mentioned that there's a lifeguard and there's a surfer. And then you also know that there's an issue between the two people that are already together because it's described as a bully boyfriend, so he's a bully. So you're like, okay, are they having an abusive relationship or is he just a bully to other people? Then you also have the fact that it says that she's popular, so a popular lifeguard, and a loser surfer, which means that there is the difference in their social standing at school. And then the fact that it says who might be a better match. So now you know, okay, she's going to at some point be contemplating, does she want to leave her boyfriend who's a bully to be with this surfer who happens to kind of be like a loser in the school. So if she does that conflict, she might no longer be popular. So you get all of those conflicts, you get all of those details about the story, in one sentence. One. So when you're writing this sentence, he says the best thing you could possibly do is make it as short as possible with as many of the details as you can. But don't give any of the backstory. So I haven't told you how he's a bully or what he's done to make her think that. You don't know. I haven't told you why the surfer guy is a loser or why he might be a better match. I haven't given you any of those details. But you want to keep it vague. You want it to be like 13 to 15 words is awesome because that's easy to remember and you can pitch it to someone. So what your goal is with this sentence is that if you were to happen to see your ideal reader and they asked you what your book was about, you could say, "Oh, it's a teen beach romance about a popular lifeguard bully boyfriend and a loser surfer who might be a better match." Then they know, "Oh, this is the genre I read. This is the age group I read. Oh, that's an interesting conflict." Then they're like, "I want the book." So that's your goal, is to pretty much convince the ideal reader that they want your book by using those 3 steps. So moving on to the second book, I also did that sentence. So this one is Falling for the Striker, and striker is a position in soccer. A teen romance, and I didn't put beach in here because the surfer one, a lot of the scenes are going to take place on the beach because he's a surfer and she's a lifeguard, and specifically she's a beach lifeguard. So it makes sense that I stuck the beach part in there. But with this one, I think a lot of the scenes are going to be taking place on land, not in the ocean or on the beach. So I didn't really want to include that. So I just said a teen romance about a writer with a disability and a soccer player who work past barriers and differences to find more than friendship. So then you know that it's going to be a friends to lovers because I said, to find more than friendship. So they're already friends, friends to lovers, romance. So then you've got your subgenre. Your struggles, they've got to work past barriers and differences. What are those barriers and differences? Okay, differences could be differences in personality, differences in wants, values, anything. Barriers, because we've mentioned that this is a writer with a disability, you can probably figure out that some of those barriers to the relationship might actually have to do with their differences in ability. And then, of course, you have the 2 things that they do. So you've got a writer and you've got a soccer player. And the thing that you don't know is that the soccer player is also a journalist in the high school, like for the school paper. They're both on the school paper. So, yeah, you kind of know a little bit about who they are. So you've got like a jock and then a writer who you would think of as like a nerd. So yeah, like you get a lot of details within that one sentence. And then for the third book, Falling for the Swimmer, I put a romance about a model, a varsity swimmer, and the attempted murder that brings them together. So you kind of know that there's some kind of conflict because there's an attempted murder, and you're like, okay, how the heck is that going to bring them together? Were they involved in this murder? What happened here? Were they the victims that almost died from the murder? You don't know because I didn't give you any of the details. But you do know that it's a teen romance, that there's going to be some definite conflict with this, like, aftermath of this attempted murder. And then the fact that she's a model, you think, okay, she might be a little vain. And then the varsity swimmer, it's like, okay. So yeah, it's still very vague. But it does give you some details. So if you like swimming, you know that there's, again, some of that, what do you want to call it? Sports romance in there. And then with the model, you might associate that with like Mean Girl or like the pretty girl, the popular girl. So if you like reading books about those, then that might intrigue you to read the story. So there's your 3 sentences. That is step 1 of the Snowflake method, is writing your sentence. So if you haven't done it already, as I've been talking, go write your sentence. Remember, all you need to do is state your genre and subgenre if you can. So a blank blank. All right. And then about, And then what are your two characters? Don't use their name. What are they? Like if you described it like, oh, my mom's a lawyer. Oh, my dad's a cook. How would you describe that? So stick them in there. If it's not a romance, you don't have to talk about both characters because it's not really important. You can just pick your main character and go with that. So you can be like, a high fantasy about a young princess, um, and then what they want. So, who wants to overthrow her father? I don't know, like just whatever your pitch is. So there's that. Step 2, and you can always pause this at any point, do the step, and then just punch play and do the next step. So, step 2 in the Snowflake method is going to be to expand that sentence into 5 sentences. This is the hardest part of the whole method, in my opinion. It's really hard to figure out what you want to do with these 5 sentences. There is a little bit of a structure to it, and it's also in the notes. So I'm going to pull up those notes, but then I'm going to kind of put it into my own words. It just took me a lot of thinking to kind of figure this out. So let's see here. Well, all right, let me look at, I have to look at, I'm on the wrong page on here. So let me look at the lecture notes for this. So the first sentence of your 5-sentence paragraph is going to be to tell the backdrop and story setup. So basically what's going to happen in your first chapter or scene. That's kind of your setup. That's what we need to know going in. Where are the characters as they begin? What is this like initial inciting incident that starts the book off? That's kind of what you want to put there. The second sentence is going to explain the beginning up to the first disaster. Another way to think of it, instead of thinking disaster, think of what's the first turning point for the character? Like, what's a decision that they need to make? And that's going to lead into Act 2. So what's this decision that's going to start them into Act 2? The third sentence describes the first half of the middle, which is the first half of Act 2, up to the second disaster or the second turning point, the second decision, the second thing that's really going to change things up for this character. All right, so that's the third sentence. The fourth sentence describes the second half of the middle, which is going to mean from the midpoint of your book to the beginning of the third act. What's going to cause that third act? So what's happening within that time frame, and then kind of like what sets off that third act. All right. And then your fourth, I think I just said your fourth incident describes the second half of the middle up to the third disaster. Yes. The fifth sentence explains the ending. Now, this is super difficult. This is so hard. So, what I recommend that you do, you can go about this 2 different ways, but it's probably best to actually kind of do both. You know your genre, right? What are the conventions of that genre? How do stories progress within that genre? So, what kind of happens at the 20% mark? What happens, like what happens in the first 20% of the book? That's the first sentence. What about the next 20% of the book? That's the second. The next, the third. The next, the fourth. The next, the fifth. There you go. That's 100%. So you can think of it in terms of that. Like, what do you want to happen in the first fifth of your book? Da 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 da. That's how these sentences are working. When you know your genre, you can figure this out fairly easily. So, like with romance, I found this website. It's called DIYMFA.com/writing/structure-romance-writing. So it has pretty much a breakdown of the structure of romance. So the first thing that's going to happen is your meet cute. So how are the characters going to meet if they've never met before? Or in my case, all the characters know each other. So to me, when I look at this and I think of what that first sentence needs to be, it is what causes them to be in each other's lives more than they were the day before. So you can think of it in terms of that. That's going to be your first sentence. Then, as I kind of look down, I'm like, okay, what needs to happen next? And that's going to be them deciding that they want to either give the relationship a chance. So, if they're not already in another relationship, which a lot of my characters are already dating someone, um, then maybe it's them deciding that they want to spend more time with this person. Maybe it's still in a friendship capacity. Um, but they're deciding that they want to like make this a regular thing. They don't want to go back to how they were before the meet cute. So that's like your decision point. What's going to make them figure that out? That's kind of like your second sentence. And then you've got like them actually kind of getting to know each other. So that can be them going on 3 dates, if they're already becoming a couple, or if they're still resisting each other. Maybe there's 3 events where they both happen to be there. Or just like 3 scenes that they're both in together where they get to know each other more. And then of course you're going to have the whole thing where it's like, okay, I need you, but I can't have you, or I want you, but I can't have you. So if they're already in a relationship, it could be that at this point they're discovering that they have true feelings for this person that they can't be with because they're already in a relationship. And then what are they going to do as a result of that? And then of course you're going to have them pulling away from each other because it's a romance. You can't just have everything work out. And then falling for each other again, and a breakup, and then like a major sacrifice and declaration of love that brings them together. I know it's a lot. That is a lot to take in, and that's why he recommends that you use at least an hour to come up with this 5 sentences. Still make it vague. You still don't even have to have any character names, and I didn't use them here. So the first sentence is really going to be very close to your sentence, to your one sentence that you put in there. So let's start with that. So for mine, and again, you can pause and write your own whenever you want to. So Falling for the Surfer, the first book. The first sentence was a beach romance about a popular lifeguard, her bully boyfriend, and the loser surfer who might be a better match. So now we've got to expand that into 5 sentences. So I have: when a popular lifeguard rescues a loser surfer from drowning, they have to hide their motives for spending time together. That's the first sentence. And I know it's not giving you a lot of information because we're going to expand that later. It's going to be a whole paragraph, so you're going to get plenty of details. But when those motives are revealed, they choose to keep spending time together. That's sentence 2. Sentence 3. But once they know their connection becomes more than friendship on both ends. I think I see. There's more of the sentence. They know they have to stop. One loses hope as the other slowly realizes they can't settle for their current relationship. They took too long and now must play the long game to prove how much they are committed to get their happy ending. So I mean, honestly, that's kind of what happens with most romances, right? So the second book, which is Falling for the Striker, a teen romance about a writer with a disability and a soccer player who work past barriers and differences to find more than friendship. So our 5 sentence paragraph. When a writer with a disability and her soccer player crush finally have a night alone together, they show their vulnerabilities for the first time. They can't go back to hiding their feelings and tempt fate by spending more time together until confessing how they feel. That's what's going to drive you into the next part of the story. Dating comes with its own challenges, and after a night full of them, she feels, so I had to put she because now it's kind of going into her perspective. A happy ever after is impossible. They try going back to just friends and focusing on their goals, but then they are on equal ground, and she can now see it his way. She just needs to convince him she won't break his heart again, and they can have their own fairy tale ending. So that's book two. Um, Hopefully, this is helpful. I know it's kind of weird hearing someone else's, especially when it's vague and you're not getting a lot of details. But I was shocked that I was able to do my 5 sentences for these 3 books. So the third book, when a model helps a varsity swimmer flee from an attempted murder, they form a new bond and have to trust each other. That trust leads to a strong friendship and unwanted feelings they must resist. They fight to distract themselves, but the need only grows until they confess their feelings. After some time of separation, they're brought back together, and there's no more denying how they feel as they commit to try. But those distractions present new opportunities that force them to break up until they make sacrifices that allow them to be together. So I am going to break down um, the book one's paragraph for you and kind of reveal some of the truths so that it's not as vague, so you can kind of understand how I got these 5 sentences, if that makes sense. So, when a popular lifeguard rescues a loser surfer from drowning, they have to hide their motives for spending time together. So, what I'm talking about, what's happening in this first act, is that her boyfriend, which is the bully, has beat up and pushed this guy into the ocean and pretty much told him to swim home, but he didn't realize that there was a tidal wave, and the guy that he pushed into the ocean almost drowned, which forced my main character, who is a lifeguard, to have to jump into this tidal wave and save him from it, the surfer, save the surfer from it. So now her boyfriend could easily get in trouble for attempted murder because he beat up this guy and then pushed him into a tidal wave. And this guy is also a beach lifeguard, so he should have spotted the tidal wave. Um, so there's lots of conflict there. She doesn't know that he beat up the guy first or that he pushed him. She just believes that her boyfriend was just mean and told him to swim home, and that the guy jumped and was like going to swim home and just didn't realize that there was a tidal wave. But she's mad that her boyfriend didn't notice and stop him. And why would he bring him over there to where the tidal wave is? Just tell him to go home. But anyway, so when it's saying they have to hide their motives for spending time together, I'm referring to what both of the characters are kind of thinking and what they're doing in this first act. So for her, she doesn't want her boyfriend to get in trouble for this attempted murder. So she's basically trying to hang out with this surfer guy and figure out, is he going to tell what happened? Is he going to get her boyfriend in trouble? That's the information that she's kind of wanting to know. She's not really wanting to be manipulative, but at the same time, she's a protector. Like, she's fiercely protective of those that she loves. So she needs to know what's going to happen to her boyfriend, even though she's really angry at him for what he did. So that's her motive for spending time with him, is to figure out what he's going to do about this and how much does he actually remember, because he lost a lot of oxygen when he drowned, and she like brought him back with CPR. So his memories were a little fuzzy for like the first couple of minutes. So she's trying to figure out what all he knows. His motives for wanting to spend more time with her is that he likes her. He's got a little bit of a crush. So the second sentence is for the first half of Act 2, what's going to happen. But when these motives are revealed, so they tell each other why they're spending time with each other. So he admits that he has a crush, and she admits that she really wants to know what he's going to do about what happened. Like, is he going to tell what her boyfriend did? They choose to keep spending time together. So now that it's all out in the open, and he basically says, I'm not going to say anything. Your boyfriend is safe. Like, don't worry about it, but maybe let him sweat for a while. Like, don't tell him he's safe. Just let him sweat. Um, but they decide that they still want to spend time together because at this point, they have been in each other's lives for a little while. And, they start to like each other a little bit as friends. And so, of course, she doesn't really like the fact that he likes her and has a little bit of a crush because she's already dating someone, but she's secure in the fact that she's not going to try to go after this guy. So even though he has feelings, it's okay. And he's not the type to try to break up a relationship. And that's honestly the reason why he doesn't say anything about her boyfriend being a jerk and pulling that move, because he doesn't want to hurt her in any way. So he's not doing it to protect the guy. He's doing it because he likes her and doesn't want her boyfriend to get in trouble and then that to make her sad. So they decide they're going to keep spending time together. All right. That brings us to the midpoint. So the midpoint, am I right? The third sentence, we'll just put it that way. But once they know their connection becomes more than friendship on both ends, they know they have to stop. So they thought they could just be friends. But she realizes that she's starting to like him as more. And because she's a Christian, she doesn't believe it's okay to cheat on her boyfriend, even though they're not married. She doesn't believe that she can cheat on him. So she knows that she has to stop spending time with the surfer guy, because if she doesn't, she's going to wind up committing adultery and cheating on her boyfriend. So that's kind of what propels you into the next half of the book. So the first half was them developing in a friendship, developing a little bit of feelings, and then it's like, oh, turning point, can't have that. So now we've got to revert a little bit. So that brings us to the fourth sentence. One loses hope as the other slowly realizes they can't settle for their current relationship. So the guy at this point feels like, well, she liked me. Like, we spent time. I got her to like me. She still chose him. So I need to move on. So at that point, he's like, okay, I'm giving up on this. It's not going to work. We can be amicable, but I need to move on. So now he's going to go and he's going to try to forget about her. There's other nice people in his life, that might want to be friends with him. He might find another girl that he wants to date. And then for her, she is starting to realize through that time apart, the comparison between spending time with him and spending time with her current boyfriend, and that the experiences are not the same. She's just kind of like, yes, I loved my boyfriend at one point, but I don't anymore. And I don't have to feel guilty about ending this. Like, we're not married. We can break up. I don't have to keep striving to get him to be the guy that I want him to be. I can just move on. And of course, there's other things that are happening in the adjacent stories as well at the same time, but she doesn't know all this. So she's making these decisions for herself, and she's deciding, okay, I really don't want in this relationship. So of course she's going to break up with her current boyfriend. That brings us into the third act. So now that she's broken up with her current boyfriend, that means she can get back with him, right? Well, no, because he's moved on. So what is she going to do to get him back? Because this is like her true love, and she just left her old love so that she could be with this one. She took too long and now must play the long game. And I know my wording's not great, but it doesn't matter because no one's going to see this but me and y'all. They took too long and now must play the long game to prove how much. I'm not answering telemarketers. Sorry. Not happening. They took too long and now must play the long game to prove how much they are committed to get their happy ending. So basically, at this point, now she's in the position that he was in at the beginning of the book, where she has to respect his current relationship with this new girl and not get in the way, but at the same time show that she really does want to be with him. And if she can't prove that, then they'll never have their happy ending together. He will truly move on. But she doesn't want that. So she's got to prove to him that she's really in it. So there you go. That is how you do your paragraph. And I didn't know how each act was going to go before today, before I started doing these 5 sentences. So these 5 sentences really help to solidify things. And like I explained to you what those 5 sentences meant, even though they're vague. So when I do my 5 sentences, which is going to be the step after the next step, that's where I'm going to expand these. So for instance, just as a little trial, the first sentence is a popular lifeguard rescues a surfer from drowning. They have to have their motives for spending time together. All right. So then I can break that down into 5 sentences and I can be like, um, I can say her name and be like, she was just trying to make sure everyone was safe on the beach, though she was supposed to be spending the night with her boyfriend, like, because it was their anniversary. So they were just going to have a night on the beach. Um, but things go awry, and her boyfriend pushes so and so into the ocean. She has to save him. Now her dad is mad that she risked her life over, a stranger in the same way that her mom died. And she has to continue talking to this guy to make sure that her boyfriend's not going to get in trouble. And he has to da 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 da. So, like 5 sentences on that. So, it's really easy to break those down. So, I'm actually super excited about doing the page synopsis. Because I feel like I can easily, like right now, I could go in and I could expand each of these sentences into 5 sentences, no problem. And then, of course, for the synopsis, each of those paragraphs, because those sentences are going to become paragraphs. So each of those 5 paragraphs is going to become a page. And I feel like I could do that at this point. So basically, if you can get that 5 sentence paragraph, I am confident that you can finish this process. You don't even have to have names yet. So that brings us into the third part, which is characters. Now, I've not done this yet. So I could either end this video at 1 hour and 11 minutes and 58 seconds, or I can go ahead and start doing the characters. So I figure because this is kind of a complicated process, we might as well try. I mean, I could kind of see if I could do it, but basically, so I'm going to tell you how I'm setting this up, and then we might end it there, and then I will come back when I have it all done, and I can go over these. So for the characters on the sheet, you can add how many ever you want. So I'm just going to put in the main characters. So I've got Tate is my main character. I forgot the last names, but I have them written down on my calendar just as I came up with them. So I'll do that later. But yeah, so I've got Tate is the main character. That's the girl. That's the lifeguard. And then I have Fievel, which is the surfer dude, and I don't remember how to spell it, so I'm going to have to fix that later. And then I have her current boyfriend, which is Leith, so I'm going to put him in there. So I know that those 3 characters are going to pop up. However, technically, I don't even need all 3 of those characters. Why? Because I have 3 books going on. So for book 1, I want to focus on the couple. So the couple, of course, we know. Like, I know I'm giving y'all some spoilers here, but you're going to get spoilers because we're going to go into the chapter by chapter, scene by scene thing too at some point. And I haven't told y'all who I'm publishing this under anyway. So, but anyway, so I've got Tate and I've got Fievel for the first romance. Then I need to think about who it will be in their book that won't be in the other 2 books. Because I don't want to be putting the same information in each file, if that makes sense. That's just like double duty for no reason. So I'm like, okay, well, duh, they have parents. So Tate has a mom, though her mom is deceased. But I'm still going to put her mom in here because even though there's a lot that I'm not going to know about her here, I can still do some details whenever we get to the character synopsis, with like what the mom looked like and all of that stuff. Some of these steps you're not going to have any information to put in because it's not necessary, and that's okay. So I've got Tate's mom, and then I've got Tate's dad, and I don't really know much about these people yet, so we'll figure it out. So I've got Tate's mom and Tate's dad, and then of course Fowle's got parents. So I'm going to put Fowle's mom and dad, and I don't even know if he's going to have both parents yet, but I'm just going ahead and putting what I can in here, you know? So Fowle's mom, and if you've downloaded it, you could be doing this at the same time. That's the coolest thing about the program being free. And then Fowle's dad. Now, there are going to be characters outside of the main characters and their parents that pop up within the book. So, for instance, like teachers or a fellow lifeguard or a coach for the swim team, all of those things. But at this stage, I'm not worried about that because those minor characters aren't really going to be influencing anything in the story. So I don't care about them yet. I will eventually. I just don't yet. So I'm not going to add all of them. So then for the second book, I have, for my characters, I have Caitlin, which is Tate's best friend. And then I have Will, which is also one of Tate's friends and is also Caitlin's friend and is Caitlin's love interest. Then I have their parents. But I don't need to put in here Tate because I'm already going to be describing Tate in Tate's book. And I don't need to put in Lath because Lath, the current boyfriend of Tate, is going to be in book 3. So for book 3, I'll go over to the characters and I'll add in the 2 love interests. So I've got Lath. And I have his love interest, which is Stephanie or Steph. It was a late night, so I just used my actual friends for the main characters for these. And then I've got Lath's mom. And I've got Lath's dad. And you know, some of these might have like step parents too that I need to put in here. I don't know yet. So that's one of those interesting things. So I've got, yeah. And then I've got Stephanie's mom, Stephanie's dad. And as I was doing this, guess what? I just figured out Stephanie has a sister. I don't know anything about her, but just as I was typing it, I was like, oh, she's got a sister. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to give Will a brother. Will a brother. Will's brother. One of the things you need to watch out for, that always happens in books, especially YA books, I'm just going to tell you, it's the truth, is not giving any of your characters siblings. It's not realistic. They're not all only children. They're not all orphans. They don't all have parents that are not involved in their lives. That's an easy cop-out, but it's not the truth. So figure that out. For all I know, Tate's got a twin. Like, I don't know yet. I don't know. Oh man, does Tate has a twin? I don't want a twin in here. That's too much trouble. I don't know yet. I'm thinking Tate has a twin, and I'm like, I don't want to have to deal with that. Why? Why do I have to add another person? I don't want. I don't want. Oh, really? Tate's twin. Okay. I'm like, that's too much. I don't wanna. Okay. I didn't know she had a twin. Apparently, she has a twin. I'm like, how is she going to play into this? I don't have a fourth book for the twin. I didn't even have the twin there at the party. So I'm like, why would her twin not be at the party? Maybe something's wrong with the twin. Maybe the twin's sick. I don't know. Dude. I'm like, why? I don't want to have to deal with extra characters. It's a pain. But yeah, so I have that. So now what I have to do now that I have the characters, extra characters I didn't want, I have to put in the ambition, the story goal, the conflict, the epiphany, the sentence summary, and the paragraph summary. And I'm like, I don't have a clue. So guess what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to play the lecture notes, the lecture audio with him describing these things, and look at the help notes on the website. And also go back and read the section that was in the Kindle book of the Snowflake method, and figure out what all of these mean, because I don't remember all of them. But the one thing I do remember is that, some of the characters might not have an epiphany. So basically, a belief about themselves or about the world that they find to be untrue, and what the actual truth is. That is the epiphany. So, for instance, for Tate, the epiphany could be she's not responsible for others' actions. And boy, does that hit the spot, because, she kind of feels responsible for her mom's death, because I guess we're just going to go ahead and do one character together. Why not? The only character I really know about. She kind of feels a little responsible for her mom's death, because her mom would always go night surfing. And she was like, if only I had just told her to stay home that night, she wouldn't have died. And then, of course, with her boyfriend, she feels responsible for him, because if she had only told him to stop being such a bully, he wouldn't have pushed Fievel into the water. And there's some stuff going on with Lath that she doesn't know about, which is why he's had such a shift in personality. Basically, his parents are getting divorced, but she doesn't know that. So that's why he's drinking and acting out and being a bully, because he wasn't like that when they got together. So let's see here. Now I am going to do what I said. I got to pull, really. I got a survey thing, and you get money when you answer them. So I'm like, okay, I will answer the survey. There's 10 cents. $555 on Google Play. All right, so let's see here. Let's pull up these notes. Let's do this together. I've got the name. I've got the epiphany. All right. Honey, you're going to be on live if you show your face. What do you want? What do you want? Don't you dare! Honey, you got to flick that back down. I can't get up to turn it off. Anyway. All right. Let's listen to these lecture notes together, I guess. Why not? Also, I got this really cool thing. Let me find it. Do I have it over here? I do. Here it is. I finally bit the bullet and got me a Rocket book, so I can take notes while we're listening to these. I also need to look at my my to-dos, because in here there is names. So while I'm figuring out what my characters' last names are and putting that in here, go ahead and look up some of your characters' names. Figure out what you want to name them. a way that you could do this is if you know their personality type, you can actually type in names, meaning, and then put in the word. Tate means cheerful. And then Caitlin and Steph, it was late at night. So I didn't waste any brain energy, and I just put in my friends' names because I was like, I haven't wrote anything with them in there before. So I'm just going to put them in. So another cool thing that you can do is if you want to base it off of someone you know or like give them similar characteristics, you can name them in a cool way. So for Caitlin, she is a huge fan of Cassandra Clare. So her last name is Rumelt or Rumelt, something like that, which is Cassandra Clare's real last name. So there's a little tidbit Easter egg for you. And then Will, whose name I gave before thinking about anything. Will, Caitlin loves Will from the Infernal Devices. So that's who I gave her. I gave her Will, and then I gave him the last name Hawthorne simply because I thought it sounded cool together. Will Hawthorne. There we go. And then I have Tate. I thought that Tate sounded good with the word Behringer. So Tate is Tate Behringer, which is not spelled with an A in there anywhere, but that's how I say it, and that's apparently what it is. I don't know. It looks like Beringer instead of Behringer, but it's still pronounced Behringer. So then I have, see if I got any more names on here. I know I do. I just got to flip back and find them. I put little weird notes sometimes that I get. So for instance, I have like, originally the name that I gave Tate was Hargrove. Tate Hargrove. What do y'all think? Which one do you like better? Tate Hargrove or Tate Behringer? I think both go. But let me know. And then Fievel is like Fievel Goes West. I was like, I need a nerdy name. And yeah, I needed a nerdy name. So then I thought of, I put in like a meaning for like loser or something. I don't know what I gave him. It was like loser or weak. I think it was weak. I put in like name meaning weak, and I got Fievel and Cuthbert. And Cuthbert makes me think of like Annie Cuthbert from the Annie of Green Gables. So I was like, oh, I like this. So Fievel Cuthbert. And then apparently I gave him some friends. So he has a friend who's like super nerdy, and I think his friend's like a major gamer that like never leaves the couch and only like does games, who I named Shazzle. I thought that was cool. And then I have where are we? Lath, I gave him the last name, and his name meant like leader or strong or something like that. I don't know. It might have even been bully. I don't remember. Lath Lamberth, like give birth instead of Bert, because I didn't want Cuthbert and Lambert, so I changed it to Birth. So I made up a last name. I do that often. Stephanie, I don't even have in here. So I'm going to have to come up with one. So if you've got a last name for Stephanie, please give me one. That would be great. And then for Lath's friends, he has two jock friends, Erwin and Oscar. I really like that Hargrove name. I think I am going to go with Tate Hargrove. It sounds pretty. Okay, let's see here. But Behringer goes to, so I don't know. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. We're going to change that. It is going to be Tate Behringer, and then I'm going to do Hargrove for Stephanie, because that goes with Stephanie. Stephanie Hargrove goes better than Stephanie Behringer. Or does Behringer go better? I don't know. Their last names might be switched. I don't know. I love the Hargrove name. And then I have 2 additional characters that I wrote down. So one was Ruthie, but the real name was actually just Ruth, but everyone calls her Ruthie. And then I also have a girl named Hannah written down here. So I'm thinking Tate and Hannah. So Hannah could be Tate's twin. Oh, Hannah Hargrove goes good. Okay, so Behringer is going to be for Stephanie. This is the process of being a writer, y'all. Y'all just seeing it. This is what happens. I do often crack myself up. Yay. All right, so Hannah is going to be Tate's twin. So Tate and Hannah. I think that works good. All right. Hannah Hargrove. Okay. And then Ruthie is a friend. I am thinking she might be more of Caitlin's friend. So I'm going to put her under Caitlin because Caitlin needs more than one friend. So I'm going to put Ruthie. And I'm going to give her the last name of Jones. All right, Ruthie Jones. I like that. So I think that's all of the names that I had in here. But yeah, some of the other things that I put on here is I put I have vampire notes. And then I have 90s words like the bomb or like sister, the show, dis, and then something to bring up in teen novels is like if you get a pimple and you have a date, and Freddy Krueger. Weirdest notes ever. Okay. All right. Y'all ready for this? Okay. Now that I've got some names, I can start doing these characters. Really? All right, let's do this. Okay. Going back to Tate's, we're going to do Tate together, and then I will pop off after I do Tate. I might do 502 just because they're together. I might do 502 so you can see kind of the differences. But then I will pop off and do the rest on my own. So let's listen to these lecture notes.
In step 3 of the Snowflake, we're going to continue to add detail to our story. And now we're going to start focusing on the characters. You can add as many characters as you need here. I would definitely put in all the main characters, but put in also any minor characters that are important enough for you to need to keep track of. And what you'll do is you'll fill in their name, you'll fill in each character's ambition. Now, what's an ambition? An ambition is what the character wants abstractly. And the example I always give is when you ask Miss America, what does she want? She wants world peace. She always wants world peace. But that's an abstract thing. You can't photograph world peace. Now, it's good to have an abstract ambition. You need to write that down, but you don't have a story until you have a concrete goal, which I call a story goal. So the story goal is, what do they want concretely in order to realize their ambition in life? What is it that they can do or be or have that will make them fulfill their ambition, at least in the character's mind? Each of your characters needs to have an ambition and a story goal. They also need to have some conflict. What is it that prevents your character from reaching his or her story goal instantly? If you don't have conflict, then everybody's happy, 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 and you don't have a story. So give each of your characters some conflict, some things that prevent them from reaching their goal. Now, most characters are going to have some sort of an epiphany towards the end. What is it that they learn, or how will they change? Now, of course, you may be saying, but I don't know how my character is going to change. I really haven't got that far yet. But that's okay. You can leave any of these things blank and move on and come back to it later. Don't worry about that too much. Now, one thing that's going to be very important ultimately for you is to write a one-sentence summary for each of your characters. And this is sort of like the storyline for the novel. You've already worked through step one where you wrote a one-sentence storyline for your novel, only this time make it about the character rather than about the main story of the novel. Okay? So pretend like each of your characters is the hero of the story. How would they see the story? What is the one-sentence summary for them? See, this is a very important thing when you're talking about characters. Your characters don't know that they're the villain, or they don't know that they're the sidekick. Each of your characters thinks that they're the hero of the story. So write a one-sentence summary as if they really were the hero of the story. And likewise, just as you wrote in step two a one-paragraph summary for your story as a whole, for each of your characters, you should write, if you possibly can, a one-paragraph summary of that character's storyline. As you do this, you're going to find that you suddenly are starting to understand your characters a whole lot better. Now, you may realize right about now that you are just starting to understand your story better, and you need to go back to step one or step two and fix some of the things that you wrote earlier. Well, that's okay. Go right ahead and do that. You can do that whenever you need to. See, what's happening here, if you really worked through this and that starts happening to you, is your characters are teaching you things about the story. That's always good. Your characters really are real people who can interact with you. Now, one other thing I want to make clear is that it's really inevitable that you are going to go back and make fixes in some of the earlier steps, because you can't hold everything in the story in your head all at once. You really can't get it right on the first try. You need to go back and make fixes. That's the mark of a good novelist. So if you find yourself saying, man, I really don't know what to write here, I don't have it perfect yet, it's okay not to be perfect yet. The purpose of each step in the design process is to help you advance to the next step. So, maintain your forward momentum here. Don't get bogged down. You can always come back and fix it when you understand the story better. And you will do that too, unless you're a lot smarter than I am.
Okay, so I'm glad he does those. The ambition and stuff is kind of hard, but because I know the epiphany, which is what they will learn or how they will change, I think I can figure this out. So the epiphany is she's not responsible for others' actions. So the ambition needs to be like what he was saying with like They always want world peace. So she always wants safety. Like she wants people to be safe. She wants herself to be safe, but she's never safe. She always puts herself in bad situations. So she wants security. She wants safety. Um, she wants others to be safe is her ambition. So it's not something that you can see, which is what he was saying. Now, the story goal is how she's going to do that, how she's going to fulfill that ambition of keeping everyone safe. So that would be okay. So as far as like the drowning thing, so she's going to continue to be a lifeguard. So her story goal is to be the best lifeguard she can. And maybe she's also taking EMT classes, because that's like a whole nother step that she can do. And maybe she does volunteer firefighting because she's just like always trying to help people. So be the best lifeguard she can. Volunteer firefighting, which you can do in high school. I had friends that did that. Volunteer firefighting. And I don't know that you can do EMT, but I'm sure she could do some kind of training. So what I would do is I would use my phone and look up. Can teenagers be EMTs?
According to learn.org, junior EMTs are adolescents who complete junior EMT training and volunteer in their local communities.
Okay. So maybe she's also training to be a junior EMT. And that's what she wants to do after high school, and she doesn't care about college. I didn't know any of this before doing this exercise, but it makes sense. But I also think that it stresses her out because she can't keep everyone safe. So the epiphany is that she's not responsible for others' actions, and she can't save everyone. It's just not possible. She's going to wind up getting hurt, which might happen in the book. She needs to learn this lesson. So conflicts. She can't do everything. She can't be everywhere at once. Another conflict that she can have is that she can't keep her boyfriend, or she can't control her boyfriend, basically. She can't control him and make him be how she wants him to be. And protecting him from consequences. Let's do that, because that's what has to do with her trying to spend time with Fievel. And protecting him from consequences interferes with her conscience because she doesn't want to manipulate anyone. We got some values going on. Okay, so far we've got her name is Tate Hargrove, which makes me think Kate Hargrove. Tate Hargrove. She wants others to be safe, or I guess she wants to keep everyone safe. She wants to keep everyone, or I guess she just wants to save everyone, basically. All right. Story goal: be the best lifeguard she can, volunteer firefighting and training to be a junior EMT. And then the conflict: she can't be everywhere at once, which means she can't save everyone. She can't control her boyfriend, and protecting him from consequences interferes with her conscience. So she's starting to get the ramifications of trying to do this. And then the epiphany is she's not responsible for everyone's actions and she can't save everyone. The sentence summary. What you'll do for your main character is you'll actually go back to the sentence summary that you gave at the beginning. And what I would do is copy and paste that into both of your main characters' sentence summaries. And we're going to rework it a little. But I'm just pasting it to both of them right now just so that it's already out of the way. All right, so for Tate, so I have on here a teen beach romance about a popular lifeguard, her bully boyfriend, and the loser surfer who might be a better match. So what is she actually doing during this? So instead of saying a teen beach romance about a popular lifeguard, I can change that to her name now because I know it's Tate. Tate struggles to keep her boyfriend out of trouble. And save those around her without abandoning her conscious or risking her own safety. Because see, she doesn't want to do stupid things. It's just that conflicts with her trying to save everyone. So she often does put herself in danger despite not wanting to. She doesn't want to do these things. It's like she has to. She feels that she has to. She feels responsible. And that's something that she has to get over. So now for the paragraph summary, that is where we're going to take this sentence and we're going to kind of do what we did for the one paragraph. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go right back to the paragraph where we did the paragraph summary. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to copy and paste it. We're going to copy and paste that into the paragraph summary for her character. So much more easier if you do download the program. So hopefully you have, because it's free. And then I do recommend getting the book. That's what he wants us to do. And I think that it's right to do that. And honestly, you need it. You need it to really understand this stuff because I can only do so much. Okay, let's see here. So when a popular lifeguard rescues a loser surfer from drowning, they have to hide their motives for spending time together. Okay, so we're going to change that to what Tate's doing. So when Tate rescues, okay, the loser surfer is Fievel. So we're just going to put in rescues Fievel. From drowning, they have to hide their motives. Okay, so she has to hide her motive because we're just talking about Tate. For spending time, and instead of together, I'll put with him because, again, this is her perspective. Okay, so the first sentence, when Tate rescues Fievel from drowning, she has to hide her motive for spending time with him. But when those motives are revealed, okay, so, but when she tells him the truth, because this is her perspective. They choose to keep spending time together. I guess that's fine to put they, because they are both going to do that. So he's going to pretty much accept her apology and continue to spend time with her. But once they know, their connection becomes more than friendship on both ends. Okay, so, but once she develops a crush, we'll put that. But once she develops true feelings, yes. But once she develops. I don't really like true feelings, but once she develops feelings for him, we'll just put that. She knows she can't spend more time with him. All right, the next sentence. One loses hope as the other slowly realizes they can't settle for their current relationship. Okay, so while apart, she realizes she can't settle for her current relationship. Okay. And then the last sentence, they took too long and now must play the long game to prove how much they are committed to their happiness. Okay. So now that Fievel has moved on, which honestly he really hasn't. He's just trying to. And I don't think that he's actually dating this other person. I think that she just thinks that he is. But they're just friends. I think that's what I'm going to do. Now that, because I don't want to have the whole like boyfriend stealing and girlfriend stealing thing everywhere. Okay, so now that Fievel has moved on, she has to prove how much she wants to be with him to win him back. We did tape! Yay! Okay, cool. So we did tape. Now, because it's slightly similar, we're going to go ahead and do Fievel. All right. So let me find Fievel. There's Fievel. Okay. So Fievel. We're going to start with his one sentence paragraph, and we're going to do his we're going to start with his sentence summary, and then we're also going to do his paragraph, and we're going to kind of work our way backward. Because I don't know his ambitions and story goal and conflict and epiphany yet, but we'll see. We will see. Okay. All right. So I don't need the teen beach romance. So Actually, we're going to start with his paragraph because his sentence isn't really what that is. When Tate rescues Fievel, he has to hide his crush on her. But when he reveals his feelings, he's glad she decides to keep spending time with him. But during their outings, it becomes harder to hold back his emotions. And she's, especially hold her back his emotions, especially now that she seems receptive to them. When she says, when she confesses and breaks off their friendship, he loses hope and confides in his girlfriend, meaning just a girl who's a friend, who's willing to distract him from the pain. He's almost moved on when Tate becomes single, but doesn't want to rush her into a new relationship. So he holds off until she proves she's ready to be more with him. There's that. Okay. So now we still have to do ambition, story goal, conflict, and epiphany. So I guess one of the story goals, like what he wants, is he wants to be with her, of course. And I think he also wants to be respected because everyone treats him like he's a loser. I think those are really his two goals. Is he wants to be with her and he wants to be respected. And to not feel, he doesn't want to feel inadequate either. Because, you know, when people bully you, even if you love yourself, you can feel inadequate in other people's eyes. So conflicts for that. She's not available. When she shows feelings, he won't stoop to being a boyfriend stealer. Because, again, that goes with his value of wanting to be respected. And you can't be respected if you do things that are disrespectful. Okay. And then the third one is he doesn't want to feel inadequate in others' eyes. So basically, when he's with her, sometimes he feels less than because she chose someone else, even after she developed feelings. So his ambition is to self-actualize. I think, honestly, let's see. Let's look up self-actualize. Define self-actualization.
Here's the definition of self-actualization: the realization or fulfillment of one's talents and potentialities, especially.
Really? So yeah, he wants to become, his ambition is that he wants people to see him the way he sees himself, as worthy. And talented. And loyal. I think loyalty is important to him. Okay. So his epiphany, what they will learn, how they will change, is that he won't accept less than that. I think that He's accepted that people feel a certain way about him, and he's tried to change it. But I think his epiphany is that he can't change the way that people feel about him, but he can not allow those people into his life, basically. He can put barriers where he wants them. So I think that's kind of his epiphany, I guess, is that what I said. He will no longer settle for half-hearted relationships, maybe. Or less than he deserves. He doesn't have to please others by allowing them to define who he is. I like that. Okay, so we have Fievel, and we have... No, we don't have Fievel. Okay, we still have to do the one sentence summary for like what is his goal during this book. What is he doing during this book? So let's go back to Tate again and see what hers was. Tate struggles to keep her boyfriend out of trouble and save those around her without abandoning her conscience or risking her own safety. All right, so then Fievel. Where'd you go, Fievel? There you are. Okay. So what does he do? Fievel struggles to appease everyone else without getting his heart broken. I think it's as simple as that for him. Fievel struggles to appease everyone else without getting his heart broken. Or defying who he is. Because he's not a boyfriend still or anything like that. His morals. We'll put that. Or defying his morals. I know, 2 hours and 7 minutes. But that was amazing. Okay, I love that. So we've got Fievel, all that. Okay, so let's see. So for Hannah, I literally do not know anything about her other than that she's the twin. That's it. There's no story goal. There's no ambition. There's no conflict. There's nothing. Unless Hannah's the friend. What if Hannah is his friend? Oh my gosh. Oh, that could work. So then it's even worse because she wouldn't want to get in the way of her sister's relationship. But I think Hannah's not into him though. I don't want that. But that would be super funny. I think that would work. So Hannah wants So ambition. Hannah wants people to reach their full potential and be happy. So story goal, how is she going to do this? She encourages Tate to be honest and Fievel to go for it. Yeah, like hers doesn't have to be a big thing because like she's not getting a book. Now I'm liking Hannah. I'm liking Hannah now. The throwaway character that I didn't want now has some importance. Oh, okay. So she encourages Tate to be honest and Fievel to go for it. And then the conflict. She also wants what's best for Leith. But she knows he's not best for her sister. This is fun. I like this. Okay. I hope y'all are doing this with me, by the way. That'd be so fun. Okay. Yeah, I know I'm weird. It's a little wrist typey thing. I just smack myself with it every once in a while. Okay. She also wants what's best for Leith, but she knows he's not best for her sister. And then another conflict can be she knows her sister thinks she's with Fievel, but doesn't want to deny it because she wants her to fight for him. And break up with Leith for her own reasons beyond wanting to be with Fievel. Because that's a healthy relationship. Okay. Yeah, I think those are kind of her conflicts. And also, because see, there's more stories going on. She also wants Caitlin to see her value she wants Caitlin to see her value as a romantic partner. And the conflict with that is that she doesn't have Caitlin's disability. So she can't rightfully dismiss Caitlin's hangups. I'll just put it that way. I like that. So her epiphany, I didn't really know that she has one, because that's just not really her thing. Like, there's not really anything that she needs to realize, except for maybe it's time for her to have her own happiness instead of trying to help everyone else with theirs. On creating everyone else's. All right, that's a nice epiphany. Now her one sentence summary is Hannah struggles to keep those struggles to help those around her see what will make them happiest and reach their full potential. Okay. I am thinking that Hannah, okay, because we said like the EMT thing and all that. I am thinking that she is like a sports team manager. Sports team manager. And I put that because there's soccer in here and there's also swimming. I don't know if she can technically be a manager for both, but I mean, she could try. So I don't know, but I think that would be kind of cool. So she's like a team manager, like a sport team manager, whatever. All right, so that's one of her goals, is to be a best team manager ever. So that's cool because then I know she would want to be like an athletic director or something for college and stuff. And wants to grow up to be an athletic manager. So maybe she works at the community center. A community center part-time. Which could also be why she wasn't at the party, because she was working or doing something. I don't know. All right. So her paragraph summary. Oh gosh. Oh man, her paragraph summary is going to be the hardest because she's like helping people throughout. So, like, people are having different struggles the whole book. So I mean, she's got so much going on because she's going to be integrated in each of the things. I think I just have to leave her blank for now because hers is going to be the most involved out of any of the characters. Tate's mom, she doesn't have a story goal, epiphany, any of that because she's dead. But she will have a character synopsis. So I will do her later. And then as far as the dad, I think that his ambition is to keep his daughter safe. I think he's kind of the same way. Like he just wants her to be safe. He wants his children to be safe. He wants his children to be happy. Let's just put that. He wants his children to be happy and safe. Does he want anything for himself? I don't know what he is yet, so I don't really know. Epiphany, his daughters are growing up, and he can't control them. Why is that in all caps? But he can be happy providing love and support. Bam. Maybe he owns a surf shop. I think that would be cool. Story goal to be the best surf shop. And give lessons. Conflict after the near drowning. People are weary of surfing and think he might be as reckless with his client students as his daughter was with her life. There we go. Now he has ambitions and conflicts. So he wants his children to be safe. He wants his children to be happy and safe. And he wants to be and he wants to find happiness alone now that he doesn't have a wife. So basically his job needs to start filling the void because people aren't going to be around much longer. To be the best surf shop owner, instructor, and dad. That works. The ocean sometimes makes him sad because it causes him to think of his deceased wife. Okay. One sentence summary. I need a name for this dude. Do y'all have a name for Tate's dad? I'm thinking Jeff. I don't know. I don't know. I'll put in something for Hargrove and just see what comes up. Like for a first name. Name generator. No, I don't care about your privacy policy. All right, let's see here. Yeah, I need a first name. Surname is Hargrove. I need a male name. Well, I need a female name too. We'll do male first. Birth year, I don't know. We'll do 1980. Because my mom was 1970, but I'm 30. So they need to be younger. All right, we're going to go with that. Write me some first names. Ooh, we have James Hargrove, Joseph Hargrove, Robert, David, Christopher, Jason, John, Daniel, Matthew, Joshua. Those are all very normal names. But I like James Hargrove. But it's also a bit too sexy for a dad. Oh, but that's okay. Okay. It'll be James for now. It's just a dad character. I could still use it for a main character later. It's all right. Okay, now we need a woman to be his wife. So we need a female name. Let's see what we got. One of them is my name. Okay, so there's a Stephanie here. How funny. A Sarah, a Heather, an Amy, a Jessica, Amanda, Melissa, Jennifer, Nicole, and Kimberly, which is my sister's name. And my middle name is on here too, which also happens to be the pen name for this book. What's cool about having this, though, is that with having the pen name, I can technically use my first name for a character without it looking arrogant. Yeah, I could do that. Because it goes really good, Heather Hargrove. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go with Amy. So James and Amy were the parents. Okay. Amy Hargrove. And it would be funny if Stephanie is related and like Amy was her aunt. That would be hilarious. Okay. So now we have Fievel's mom, who I know nothing about. I don't think that they're wealthy. I think that that's part of the reason why people make fun of him, is because he's kind of poor. Yet he has a wetsuit and surfboards. So maybe his dad is into surfing. But I'm thinking his mom is like a waitress or something. I'm thinking his mom is a waitress. Maybe his dad also has gambling issues. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just kind of filling out some information. But honestly, they don't really have any epiphanies or anything like that. So really, his parents will both be in the character synopsis, but not having a real thing. So I think she is a waitress at a mom and pop diner. And I think the dad is a surfer. Maybe he's a retired surfing surf pro. He's a retired surf pro with a gambling addiction. And his mom works at the mom and pop diner because she never had to work. And has no job experience. After getting married. She has to work now because her husband blew their savings and mortgaged the house again. Mortgaged the house. And if she doesn't make payments, they'll lose it. Whoo! Didn't know that was going to happen. Okay. Shazzle. Oh my. Fowl's best friend is just a nut. Okay, this guy is just a nut. Like, he's just funny. He ain't got no goal. I think he's a gamer and he does skateboarding. All right, I'll just put it in the character synopsis. So he loves video games. As in, like, could design them. Wicked smart. Incredibly dumb jokes. Dumb but hilarious jokes. And awesome. No, and clumsy skateboarder. So he wants to be like a skateboard legend, but he's always wiping out. Oh, I like it. Oh. So wants to be a skateboard legend. Conflict is always wiping out. And parents are tired of all his injuries. My. Epiphany. He can get the girl and still be a video gamer. Cause like he's always trying to like impress. I think he's into Hannah. Let's do that. He's trying his goal to impress Hannah and get her to date him. His ways of getting noticed are not working. Because she thinks he's an idiot. I'm thinking for the twins, Tate has like sandy blonde hair and Hannah has like dark hair. So I'm thinking they're fraternal. They don't look exactly the same. Yeah. Oh man. Okay, that's so funny. He just tries to get her attention the whole time. So that's his whole sentence summary. Shazzle. To get Hannah to date him. By pulling off ridiculous stunts. So he can still get the girl. He can get the girl and still be a video gamer. He just needs to ask her out already. This guy is like a stoner without the drugs. Oh my. Okay, I think that that's hilarious. And I think that I have enough for this story to go off of. I don't know much about Ruthie though. I like Will and Caitlin I get, and like I have their story thing. So really, I still have to do their characters, but I don't want y'all to sit and watch all of that because that's just incredibly long. So I did the first people. So I have Tate, I have Hannah, I have Tate's mom. Well, I don't really, but like I have Tate's dad. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a really good start here. I think I could totally do a book. This is awesome. Okay, so I am going to take a break and get a snack or something because it's like almost 3:00. So I'm going to do that and work on filling out the rest of those for today. So that's going to be my goal, is to fill out everyone's character profiles. And I might even be able to go back and get an actual like storyline for what's happening and like really flesh out like Shazzle and maybe do a paragraph summary for Hannah, but hers is so difficult. I don't know. This was kind of like the bare minimum one that he really wanted you to do on all of your characters, like even your smaller ones. But they don't have to have everything. But they do kind of need to have a story goal. I would think at a minimum, they need a story goal, something that they're trying to do so that they're not just like manic pixie dream girls. Hannah's kind of a manic pixie dream girl, but that's like her personality. That's just who she is. She's there to help fulfill everyone else. But eventually she realizes, hey, I need to do something for me. So I think that would be funny. Her and Shazzle, that's just hilarious. Okay, yeah, I need a break. I need a mental break. So I'm going to do that. And my friend is writing a book that I get to read over and comment on as she's writing it because her due date is in 8 days. So she has to do like 3,000 words a day, which is a lot. If you don't know, it's a lot. But it's so good. So I think what I'll do is I will take a break before hopping back into mine. However, I think that break might be spent reading her new chapters. But anyway, so what happens next, basically, is that I will have to go in and fill out the rest of these character profiles for all 3 of the books. So I'm pretty much done with book 1. I'd say book 1 is like 75% done. I can flesh out a little bit more, but it is going to take time. So yeah, I'm going to flesh out a little bit more with that and then continue on for book 2 and book 3 for those characters. And then the next step is going to be expanding the 1-paragraph summaries into 1-page summaries, which I don't think is going to be that bad. However, it's already 3 o'clock. So what my plan is, I think y'all have seen plenty about the process through this video. So we got through the first 3 steps. I think we did 3 steps. So we got through the first couple steps of the Snowflake method together, and I feel like you can definitely adequately go and do the rest of your characters for your books on your own. So I'm not going to be reading out or showing any of the details for the rest of the characters in this current stage because it's not necessary. That'd just be a lot of time to go over that, and y'all don't care that much. But yeah, so hopefully tomorrow, we'll see, but tomorrow sounds good. I can get on here again and we will do the expansion, not for all 3 books, because again, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. But I think for book 1, we can definitely expand those sentences into the 5 paragraphs. So we'll get a page done. And that will probably be tomorrow. And then the next thing that happens is doing like a whole page on each character. So yeah, I think that will be tomorrow. I don't know that I'll do the character expansions tomorrow as well. I think that could also be a lot of work. But we'll see. Y'all just let me know how you felt about this. Did you like it? Yeah, that's all. Okay, I'm gonna go find something to eat. Thanks for watching. I will see y'all again later, and bye-bye.